Activity of the creatures. Creative power. Free will. BD0707 from December 11, 1938, taken from book number 15. See and understand that all creatures subordinate themselves to God's will, and then try to realize how little of his own will already enables the human being to move in God's order, and how versatilely, on the other hand, he can work through this will, i.e., what a wide field of activity is opened up to him on earth. How again and again man is chosen to shape the outside of the earth according to his will, how always the creative power is given to him by God, and how this can unfold in every way with the right use of his free will. In other words, he himself is creatively active, as it were, insofar as it corresponds to human abilities. Although God's approval must accompany man's creative will everywhere, God will respect the freedom of will as far as possible, which is why works also arise that cannot meet with full approval because they violate his commandments or the divine order, or do not serve to preserve what already exists but rather to destroy it, or are based on a certain selfishness or material greed for profit. Where man can fully dispose of his will and is therefore much ahead of the creature, he should use it wisely and deal with this gift of freedom in such a way that he first submits every action to the Lord. This will guide his thoughts and will in the right way, and he will not run the risk of violating divine order. What is evident in nature and can be observed again and again in all creatures is the uniformity of the activity inherent in every work of creation, and so man observes the same. He should endeavor to shape himself and his creative urge in such a way that he does not fragment himself in an activity that brings little or no benefit to mankind. The willingness to serve is always a factor that is highly valued, and time and again the human being must be reminded that love should be the principle of all earthly activity. Every act of free will then always correspond to God's will. He then has one thing ahead of the creature, that his higher development is his own merit, because he has used his free will for the progress of the soul. All creatures are prescribed their activity on earth and they comply with it because they cannot live any other way than God's will. Whereas the human being has so many endless possibilities in earthly life which consist of different activities, and it is completely up to him to live in accordance with the Lord's will, to submit himself to him or to be active contrary to the divine order. The faculty of judgment is given to everyone to recognize the will of the Lord, for otherwise one could not speak of a truly free will. The will is only completely free where the person has knowledge of both the one and the opposite and can now do and not do as he sees fit. He will also never be in doubt as to what is good or evil and what is therefore pleasing to God or does not correspond to his will. It will therefore submit to the will of God, who only ever endeavors to work and create in all love and for the blessing of his fellow human beings. God will assist them with his help and increase and strengthen their knowledge, energy and will to love, and such a person will carry out the Lord's will in every action and thought. And his will always be subject to the Lord. Amen.